Guys, the cloud is not real. Well, technically it is, just not in the way you expect. Everybody always talks about the cloud as if it's magic, like your photos are somehow floating up in the atmosphere where the birds fly. But it's a lie. Cloud is just a very expensive, very sweaty warehouse somewhere near a motorway, and it's called a data center. And I'm building one, or actually quite a few, and yes, on purpose. So, what actually is a data center? Think of it like this. Your laptop's cute, it's great for Zoom calls and pretending to work, but asking it to run the global internet's like asking a hamster to pull a train. At first, the hamster's very motivated, but we all know it's not going to happen. The data center is basically a room full of computers, no screens, no keyboards, no mice, and no personality. Just a bunch of stacked steel frames called racks, like working and crunching numbers 24/7, 365 days a year. And why do they need a specialized building? Cooling, power, networking, and security. The machines eat electricity like a child would eat their cereal at midnight. Constantly, enthusiastically, and zero awareness of the security bill. They generate insane amounts of heat. You know how your phone gets hot after you doom scroll on TikTok for 20 minutes? Now imagine 10,000 of them in the same room.
Oh no! That's hell no! No!
Without the proper cooling systems, you are creating an industrial air fryer. Now, I tried to come up with a joke about overheating servers, but I didn't want things to get too hot in here. And then security. These places are set up to be Fort Knox. Biometric scanners, 24/7 security and security guards, and fire systems that use gas instead of water. Because water plus multi-million rand equipment makes for really expensive bricks in the data center building. Now let's get back to the gas. The gas with a high volume ventilation system removes every bit of oxygen out of the room. You just need to hope you're not in there when that happens. Otherwise you're out of there too. So don't be in there. And also, not all data centers are the same. Think of it like places to live. Enterprise data centers are like private mansions. One company owns everything, total control, and nobody touches your stuff. But it comes with its set of trade-offs. If something were to break, you need to fix it. But it's great for big banks and government systems to be housed in private. And then you got co-location, which is like your private apartment block. Co-location is a facility where your clients bring their equipment to you and you host it. You provide the internet, you provide the power, you provide the cooling, and they do the rest. In some instances, like we are planning, we'll have a white glove service where we will actually do the physical work for the client as well. They don't need to lift a finger. They just pick up the phone and make sure that everything gets done. The cloud is the all-inclusive resort, and it's easy. If you click a button, you've got a service. If you need 5 more services, you click that button 5 more times and you've got the service. The data center takes care of everything. And then you have edge computing, which is like your corner convenience store or corner cafe. Edge data centers are a bit more intricate. Edge data centers are data centers positioned where the clients are. So why? Because data travels fast, but not fast enough when you're gaming, running AI, or operating a self-driving car. You need your data processed in a facility that's technically next door to you. And then finally, hyperscale facilities. This is what the big players like Google and Amazon build when they've got too much money and not enough hobbies. Facilities so large that they probably have their own weather pattern and most likely have their own dedicated power plants. And we're not building a hyperscale facility, so that we are clear. And that begs the question, why? Why are we building a data center? And that comes down to a couple points. We're building in South Africa, which means we need to speak to the government and we need to speak to guys like Eskom. Eskom is our national power utility. They are not evil and they're not purposefully incompetent. They're simply experiencing a multi-decade and multi-billion rand infrastructure failure and meltdown. And they're handling it with the urgency of a damp sock. We deal with things like damp coal, which they can't burn, cable theft, and they call it unforeseen maintenance issues. That would be true if there was maintenance done in the first place. There are real Eskom excuses. Sometimes we appreciate the creativity that they hand out to the public. But we are not, however, connecting 3 megawatts of AI-ready facilities to the grid. That's a hard pass for us. So we're building our facilities to be grid independent. That means a lot of land, it means a lot of space, and it means a lot of security. And that also means to build massive solar arrays. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's heavy maintenance. But at this stage, it feels like the only way to go. If the sun goes down or a bad day occurs like we have today, the batteries kick in. When the batteries are dead, our backup generators kick in. But when you're planning a business that requires 100% uptime or 99.9998% uptime, you need to do things out of the ordinary. You need to do things that your competitors don't do on the daily, or things that they might forget about on the daily. So yes, this setup and the planning process we're going through is really important to us. The real reason we're building this is we believe that South Africa and Africa are majorly underserviced with data center infrastructure. The big global players are not rushing to be building here. Not, and definitely not at the scale that the local business needs. And that means if you're a startup or mid-sized business in Johannesburg or somewhere in Gauteng, and you use global firms, you are sending your data to a server farm in another country, and you are paying international pricing for the privilege of being on a platform. And then we've got the big South African players, which simply don't want the smaller clients. If they could fill a facility with one client from day one, they would take that in a heartbeat. And some of them don't fill their spots from day one. And they're okay with a dead space in their facilities. And that causes small businesses in South Africa to get left behind. That's the gap. And that's why Valantyr exists. People hear the word data center and they think and figure, how hard can it be? And that's where we were, is how hard can it be? Just put some computers in a room and make it work. Get some clients and they bring their stuff to us and we'll make sure that everything works. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. We need to take 5 steps back. First of all, the shell, or the building itself. For certain regulations and certain certifications, you need a robust, planned with security in mind facility, and we chose concrete walls. The kind of walls where if someone were to try and drive into your facility with a truck to steal customer equipment, the truck loses. And yes, there are other ways, guardrails and physical deterrence, but things like this happen on a daily basis. And then stuff like vapor barriers everywhere, because once again, moisture and servers don't mix, and it causes for an expensive paperweight that we are liable for at the end of the day. So we're not making expensive paperweights, just so that we are clear once again. And then second, the power facilities and giant battery banks that take over the moment the grid wobbles, with no gap and no flicker our infrastructure and our client's infrastructure will stay on, followed by diesel generators for anything longer than a couple minutes. And then solar on top of that, because we are done with the grid integrity. And this is the only way we can make sure that everything stays online. So in a retrospect, we've got backups upon backups upon backups coming. Some people call it overkill, we call it Tuesday. And then thirdly is our cooling and air handling systems. We're running cooling coils and geothermal cooling systems rather than the standard air conditioning and chilled water cooling systems that your average data center would run. But with a twist. Our geothermal loops will cool down our liquid enough using the ambient temperature underground to bring cool water up to the cooling coils. And the cool air that comes from the cooling coils is directed one way, and that is dry and cold aisles. And then the hot air that the servers will exhaust simply gets recirculated back into that cooling coil system. And then fourth is our fiber and network and internet infrastructure. Now, without sharing too much and without boring you on the capabilities of what our network can do, just know that we've got 4 layers of network integrity. We've got multiple fiber lines connecting from multiple sides of the facility to keep us up and running on a fiber network, because fiber is the best after all. If the fiber layer were to go down, we do have a 4G, a 5G, and then a wireless internet service as a backup. So we technically have a plan of action and multiple backup services for any scenario. And then the best part is we're doing all of this in a modular pod setup. Instead of a massive uncontrollable room or building or warehouse, we build it in sections, separate sections. If we need more capacity, we just drop in another pod. And with a plan that we've got to build multiple facilities on the edge in South Africa and then expanding out to Africa, we are confident that we can build multiple sites. At the same time, our competitors can build one. And that's not bad mouthing anybody. I didn't say any names. Now, I guess we've decided to take on a project at this scale in the worst time that anybody could imagine. We are dealing with global chip shortages. AI is eating every single bit of hardware we can put our hands on, and shipping costs are unhinged. And we picked this exact moment to do it. So we are geniuses. More like idiots. But here's the thing though. We're not waiting for the world to sort itself out before we do anything. We're not waiting for Eskom to have a breakthrough. We're building something that doesn't need permission. And these are people we're going to be considering our competition. But they don't want our customers. We do. So that's it. That's Valantyr. That's Valantyr in a nutshell. A data center business in South Africa that is grid independent, using facilities that are erected within months and not years. We have our own private fiber lines. We're planning these massive internet exchange points, which is not linked to any other business, and we're giving that to our clients for free. We think you matter, no matter if you're big or small, or a startup, a mid-sized business, or a massive corporation. But we are building infrastructure that's going to say it all. It's going to be the loudmouth of the industry, and we know it. And follow the build. It's going to be loud, it's going to be expensive, and occasionally it's going to be stressful. And we're gonna be kicking ourselves if something happens and we don't do something about it. And maybe subscribe. If you've got any questions, comment it down below and stick around for the next one. It's truly gonna be worth it. We've got huge plans for the future, and we've got huge plans for content within the next couple days. But other than that, thanks for watching. Ciao.